Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel Frontend with Saikat. If you're new here, I'm Saikat and I create videos to help you master React.js one component at a time. In today's video, we are diving deep into building a stepper component in React. Not just any stepper, but one that you could be asked to create a React interview. So if you're preparing for React machine coding round, this is must watch. Before we jump into the code, let me ask you this. Have you ever had to build a multi-step form where users need to go through different stages? Whether it's a checkout process or sign-up form, creating a stepper is essential for guiding users through complex workflows. Here you can see that we are trying to build today's video. This is a multi-step form. If I reload this, we'll be redirected to the first step, which is personal information. If I write here first name, last name, if I click the next, I should be able to go to the next step, which is the contact information, right? So here I try to write my email. Let's just say, and though it's not a real number, so if I click on the next button, here you can see like the review information, right? First name, last name, my email, and the phone number, right? So, and you can see the submit button. Since we are on the last step, that's why you can see the submit button, right? So I can go back here by clicking the back button. If I'm on the first step, I mean the personal information, so there is no back button because we are on the first step. There is no back step, that's why you are not seeing the back button right here. So if we on the second step, at that time you will see the back button, right? So this is a normal functionalities, but this is what we are trying to build in today's video, and this is a multi-step form. These components are crucial for improving user experience, and understanding how to build one can be a game changer in your React interviews. But the best part, we'll do it step by step, and by the end you'll have a fully functional, beautiful designed stepper component that you can confidently talk about in your next interview. So let's start by setting up our project. We'll use Byte for a fast and lightweight development environment along with Tailwind CSS for our styling. So if we go on the Tailwind website, here you can see like install with Tailwind CSS with Byte, right? Here you can see the step-by-step guide. First, you need to create a React project with Byte. Here you can see the command, right? And then you have to install the Tailwind CSS, like the post CSS and auto prefixer along with Tailwind CSS. And you need to create the Tailwind config file. Here you can see the command, right? And px Tailwind CSS init -p. And you need to update the Tailwind config file. And simply you need to add the utility classes in your index.css and simply add this code in your app.jsx. If I go here, I did exactly same. If I go to the package.json here, you can see I have installed Tailwind CSS, Byte, and this is a simple React applications. And if I go to the index.css here, you can see I have added utility classes, and I added one of the font like Inter. This is the Google font. I use this font, right? It's that simple. And I have updated the Tailwind config file here. You can see like the JS, TS, JSX and TSX, right? If I go to the app.jsx, you can see the simple code that I have just copy and paste from here. And if you run, you should be able to see this hello world with bold and underlined design. And you follow this step by step, and I believe this is that simple. You should be able to do that and run your application with npm run dev, and you are good to start with it. So let's break down the component. In our application, I'm thinking to break down one by one so that you can understand how to think like the component breakdown, right? So here first we'll use a form container. So if I write like that, form container, so the form container would be here this whole form container, and my expectation is to handle all the application state from the form container, and I'll create a steps component, and last I will create a stepper component. So these three components will help us to create the end product, right? And obviously that like app.jsx will import like form container here, since we don't want to create a complexity here in app.jsx. So all the application logic, business logic, state, all will be shifted to the form container, right? So let's create a component directory inside src folder. components. Since I have said, first we'll create a form container. So it should be a file JSX, and I will create a steps and stepper both. Steps.jsx and stepper.jsx. I can use RAFCE for shortcut to create a functional component, and same goes for, I can use this. Cool. So I have these three component ready, and I want to import this form container here in app.jsx file, right? So let's remove this h1 and form container, right? Cool. And I have added a simple classes here. You can see like the main age screen, that means the main height is 100 bh and background is gray 100. It's flex, item center, and justify center, right? You'll find the GitHub link in the description below. If you want to copy the CSS, feel free to copy. Let's just focus on to create a functional things, right? Let's do it. Since I have said to you, I will handle all the application logic from the form container, right? So let's think what kind of state that we might need, right? So since let's go to the final product. Here you can see the step, right? The 1 2 3. So if you can see, I'm on the step 2, that's why 2 is on bit active state, right? So we can think we need a current state, right? So we can assume to create a current state here, right? Let's create a current state. Use state snippet, and it's a current state, not state, state. Cool. So it's a current step, and by default the current step should be 0, and make sure to import the state, right? And also if we go here, there is some information, right? The form information. If I go here, like the personal information, if I go here, the contact information, so we could say like the form state, right? Or form data, right? So what we can do, we can create another state, form data. So it should be an object here. Like if we see here, we need, if we go back, we need a first name, last name, and email and phone number, right? So what we can do, we can specify the state here, right? First name empty, last name that has to be also empty, email, last is phone number, right? So all are empty, right? Cool. Now let's think about the steps, right? If I go to the final product, you can see there is a steps, right? 1 2 and 3. So if I think in a technical way, we need to have a steps array, right? There will specify the label like this personal information and like contact information, like review information, and there should have one component. So this is, if I can think this way, this is our whole component. This is the steps, right? 1 2 3, these are the steps, and this is the main body, right? This is the main body of that steps, right? You can see, right? So what we can do, we can create a steps array with defined label that I'm expecting to have a label this personal information, contact information, DB information, and with a component like that has to be a component. Here you can see like the step 1 for the personal information, step 2 for the contact information, and step 3 for the review information, right? So let's create a steps array here, const steps, that should be an array of object, and I will define a label. Also I'll define a component. So since we have a 3 steps here, you can see personal, contact, and review, we have to add 3 objects here, right? So let's add it. Cool. So first one was personal information. Let's write the label is contact information, and the last one is review information. And I want to return component from here, right? So see, we have 3 steps, right? Step 1, step 2 and step 3. What I want to create the component in steps.jsx file here. So I want to actually create step 1, step 2 and step 3 in this file, and I will return from here, and I will use these steps. I will import this state in this form container file here in the component here, right? So let's focus to create the steps, and we will import here, right? And we will import and we will work on the JSX part. Let's go to the steps.jsx. So in the steps.jsx file, I have created a component step 1, and I'm exporting it from here, right? And I'm expecting to receive this component form data and set form data as a props. So from where we'll get this form data and set form data? If you remember, we have created a state in a form container. Here you can see form data and set form data. We'll send this state to this step 1 component as a props. We'll do it a bit later, but I just want to work on the JSX part of the step 1. So if I go to the final product and if I click on the back, you can see in step 1 we have a title kind of thing here. You can see the personal information, and we have 2 input box here, right? So let's go to the step 1 component, and so here I have written a h2 which will represent a title, right? Step 1 with personal information, and you can see I have actually defined a couple of styles here: age, text to Excel, font semi-bold, MP6, text gray 700, right? So I have defined an input here. You can see it's a simple HTML input. Classes, this is for style, type is text, placeholder is first name, and I just want to give focus on value and on change, right? So value, since I have said we'll send form data as a props from container from here, right? Okay, let me import that step 1, right? And I want to send form data as a props to that component, right? Form data and set form data. So what I have done, I have sent this form data and this set form data as a props to this component step 1. So this step 1 should receive this form data and set form data. And what we have done, we have used this form data dot first name, since this component will represent the first name field, right? That's why we have get the first name from the form data object. If I go to the form container and the form data object, you can see the first name is there, right? So we did exactly same. Actually we received this form data dot first name. So I saw here I'm getting one error. I don't know why I'm getting this error. Okay, it is for this. So let's update app capitalize, and it's good, right? It's not showing any error. Cool. So this is for the first name, right? Okay, on change, right? See, we receive form data here from props, right? Now we want to update the first name, right? We want to update the first name inside, using the form data function, right? This is a setup function. Remember, this is a variable and this is a setup function in React state, right? So we'll use this setup function to update the first name value. So if I go here, you can see I use the setup function, I called it, and I kept all the previous value that it has in a form data, and I just only update the first name with the e.target.value. That's it. Let's do it same for the last name, right? So what we can do, we can actually, okay, you can see here I did the exactly same for the last name. Class name, type, placeholder, there is nothing to explain, and the same thing that I have done in a first name, form data dot first name, same goes for form data dot last name, and I have used the same process to update the last name state, right, using the setup function, which is set form data. So I have imported it in a steps component. I have passed form data, set form data as a props. I received it as a props, and I have used here in value and on change, right? So far so good. We have completed the step 1, right? Okay, so let's focus on to create a step 2 component. Okay, you can see I have done the same thing like step 1, export cons step 1, same goes for export cons step 2. We'll receive form data as a props, and we'll define a title like here, and we'll use input boxes, right? So let's see what input boxes we need here in a step 2. If I go here, so in contact information we need email and phone number, right? So same, right? The same things that we can use here. So let's add input boxes in a step 2 component. You can see here I have added 2 HTML input here. Same class name, type, placeholder. I just don't want to explain these things because I know you are not that newbie, right? So value and on change, same things. We have get the form data first name, form data last name. Same, we got a form data email and form data phone number, right? And we have updated the state using the setup function, which is the set form data, right? Simple, right? This is not that much complicated. We just repeat the step 1 process here in a step 2 component, right? Cool. So we have done step 1, we have done step 2. So step 3 is our last step, right? And then we are good to work on the form container again, right? So let's add the step 3 component here. In step 3, I just added simple title, right? But let's see what we need to define here in the step 3, right? So let's go to the step 3 here in a review information. Here you can see there is no input HTML input here, right? We are just reviewing, we are seeing the data that we have actually written here in the input boxes, that it is actually reviewing to get another level confirmation. Here you can see this is a simple review information, right? First name, last name, email and phone. So what we can do here, we can actually get the form data value here, right? So let's do it. Okay, so here you can see I have used a p tag here with the first name, and I have got the form data dot first name value. So remember, right? So if when we are on the input boxes, we use that form data dot first name in the value. So that means we are getting the dynamic value, right? Whatever we will write in the input, right, it will store in the form data, and we will update the input component with updated value, right? The same thing that we have done here, we got the updated value using the form data dot first name. Same goes for the last name, email and phone number. I believe there is no confusion related to this step 3 component implementation. Cool. So we have completed step 1, we have completed step 2, and we have completed step 3. Now we have to import the component here, like as I have done step 1, same thing I have to do. So what I can do, I can copy this. Same goes for this. Okay, it would be just 1, and it has to be step 2, and this is step 3. Step 3. Cool. So we have defined the steps array with label and all component, and also we have completed our steps component work, right? Cool. Okay, so I want to focus one more logic, and then we are good to start working on the JS expert, right? So if I go to the final product, you can see here the 2 button, right? Back button. If you are on the first step, there is no back button, right? If you are on the second step, there is a back button. So that means there is a logic to add this back and next button, right? So there is another logic for next button. So if we are on the last step, next button would be the submit button, right? If we are on the first step, there should not have any back button. If we are on the last step, there should not have any next button. So these are the logic that we need to work on that, right? So let's add first the function, right? And then we'll work on the JS expert bit later, right? Let's first define the function of that back button and next button. So for that, we can add two function here for the back and next. So here you can see simply I have added two function, next step and previous step. So next step would be set current step, we are getting the previous step and increment by 1. Same previous step, we are getting the previous step and we are decrement by 1. Here you can see, right, here in the current step. So we can start working on the jazz expert, right? So here I have added couple of styles with the 700px, MX Auto, BG White, padding 8, rounded LG and shadow LG. Here in the top part we will use the stepper component, right? So we don't have any functionality here in the stepper component, right? So what we can do, we can simply add the stepper component, though it will not work, right? But yes, you can add it, right? Okay, then I have imported, you can see the current step component. So steps is an array, right? So current step is a value, numerical value, right? 0, 1, 2, right? So what we will do here, this is steps. 0 means it will represent the first item and we are getting the component. Component means this component, step 1, step 2 and step 3. That means we have imported that component, this is step 1, step 2, step 3 component here, right? Here inside the div. And finally I have added logic for the back, next and submit button, right? I just want you to keep bit closer on that part, since there is a logic to show the back, next and submit button, right? So think, back button, I said if we are not in the first step, then back button would be there. So it's simple, current step is greater than 0. That means greater than 0 means we are not in the first step. At that time we can show the back button. It's simple, right? You understand. And back button is simple, we have added couple of classes and inside the on click we define the previous step function, right, that we have written before, right? Now let's think about the next and submit. So think, if we are on the last step, at that time we don't want to show the next button, at that time we want to show the submit button. It's same, if current step less than steps dot length minus 1, that means current state is not the last state, at that time you can show the next button, otherwise show the submit button. So in the submit button it's a simple alert, there is no function here defined, it's a simple alert call from submitted. But in the next we defined on click with next step. So next step function that we have defined here, right, with using the set current step we are getting the previous state and by incrementing 1, right? Cool. So we have completed our form container component with jazz expert also, right? Now one component is left, which is stepper component, right? So if I want to show you how it looks like, here you can see like it is showing here, right? Step, you can see we are on the first, that's why you are not seeing any back button, right? If we click on we are on the step 2, that's why you're seeing the back button. If we click the next, we are on the step 3, that's why you're seeing the submit button, right? That's how it is, right? Only one thing is left, which is this top part, right, the stepper part, right? So let's work on that, right? Let's go to the stepper component. See, stepper component is very easy. It's all about the CSS, right? So that's why I don't want to show the CSS part of that. So I have written all the CSS part here and I will explain what I did here, right? So first we need to get the steps and current steps as a props. So in form container we need to send steps, right? Steps, and another one is a current step. So let's send a current step, current step, right? So we have sent these two props. Let's go to the stepper, we received it, right? See, we want to show these three things, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3. So that means it all depended on the steps array, right? So that's why we have actually get the steps as a props here, right? And we have mapped it. You can see we have mapped it to show 1, 2, 3 with like the labels, right? The label that we have defined here, personal information, and the label that we have defined here in the steps area. You can see the personal information, right? So here, and here you can see if it is a current step at the time we are showing is that with text blue 600, right? And if it is not at the time we are showing, actually the text gray 400, right? And current step is greater than index. That means we already actually covered the steps. That means see, we have covered one step, right? We have covered two step, right? At the time we are showing the text green, text green class here, text green 600. Current step we are showing text blue. For over step, past step, we are showing the green. And if it is not the current, if it is not the past, at the time we are showing the gray, right? This is a simple logic that you can see for to showing CSS style, right? That you can see. So if I go here, you can see it is not a current state and it is not the past state. That's why it's a gray. So this is coming from here. And same goes for this actually this this one with a circle design, right? So this is the design here, right, that I have defined with 10 height 10 with background color, see, bg blue, bg green, bg gray. This is the same thing, right? And for here, why we are actually increment, adding one here, right? So see, steps by default is 0, so we can't show 0. Okay, let me remove it. Let me show you how it shows. It will show 0 1 2, but it see 0 1 2, it doesn't make sense, right? 0 step, right? So that's why we have added 1, right? We have added 1 here, and that means starting with 1 2 3, and it will, okay, let me try it, test it. Boom, you can see the information, right? In a review phase, you can see the information for first name, last name, email, and phone number. Cool, right? So we have completed form container, we have completed stepper, we have completed steps, and we imported form container in app.jsx. And that's it. You have now built a fully functional React stepper component. Whether you are building a multi-step form, a widget interface, or just need to guide user through a process, this stepper component has got you covered. Plus, it's an excellent topic to discuss in interviews, showcasing your ability to create dynamic and user-friendly React components. Remember, the key to mastering React is not just about knowing the syntax but understanding how to build components that solve real-world problems. The stepper is a perfect example of this. It's a versatile, reusable, and can be tailored to fit almost any use case. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to stay updated with more React tutorials. Also, let me know in the components if there are other React component or concept you would like me to cover. I'm always open to suggestions. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy coding. I'll see you in the next one.